Imagine discovering the beloved maid who raised your child secretly holds a shocking truth revealed by a DNA test. Accusations fly, trust shatters, and dark secrets surface. Was she lying all along? Or is there a deeper injustice at play? Brace yourself for betrayal, redemption, and a powerful twist you won't see coming. Watch until the end, because the hidden drama in this emotional story will truly move you forever. Heavy silence enveloped the luxurious Carter estate as the elegant family lawyer placed the sealed envelope onto the polished mahogany table. Every pair of eyes, cold, accusatory, anxious, focused on Isabella, the family's trusted maid. Isabella stood frozen, her strikingly curvy figure trembling slightly beneath her pristine maid uniform, dark eyes shimmering with barely contained tears. "I never lied to you," she whispered, voice quivering. Marcus Carter, the family's powerful patriarch, handsome yet stern, stepped forward, his blue eyes hardened with suspicion. "The DNA test will show the truth, Isabella. We treated you like family, but maybe we were wrong." Isabella flinched as if struck physically, heart shattering visibly behind her stoic facade. As Marcus reached for the envelope, a faint sob echoed from Isabella's lips, hinting at an unspoken pain deeper than anyone realized. 3 months earlier, laughter had echoed through the Carter estate, illuminated warmly by morning sunlight. Isabella moved gracefully through the elegant halls, smiling warmly at Julia Carter, Marcus's glamorous wife, whose emerald eyes sparkled kindly. "Isabella, you've been our angel," Julia had said softly, genuinely grateful. Their young daughter, Emma, adored Isabella, often clinging affectionately to her, whispering childhood secrets. Isabella treasured these moments, believing she'd finally found acceptance after years of hardship. But one afternoon, Isabella overheard Marcus's heated phone call behind a closed study door. "We need proof. Isabella might be hiding something crucial from us," he growled, suspicion seeping into his tone. Isabella's heart skipped painfully. Had her carefully guarded past finally caught up with her? Returning to the present, Marcus opened the envelope slowly, tension thickening palpably in the grand room. Isabella's heart raced, each second agonizingly slow. Julia stood quietly beside Marcus, torn between doubt and loyalty, her usually composed demeanor visibly shaken. Marcus scanned the document, expression shifting from stern suspicion to utter disbelief. "This can't be possible," he muttered, eyes widening. Isabella felt all eyes boring into her, demanding answers she feared to give. The lawyer cleared his throat, breaking the silence awkwardly. "The DNA test confirms the biological match. Isabella is Emma's mother." The room erupted instantly into chaos, gasps of shock and horror resounding from the family. Isabella stood paralyzed, exposed and vulnerable, tears streaming down her face, the hidden truth she'd buried for so long suddenly unveiled. Marcus's piercing gaze met hers. Betrayal etched deeply across his handsome face, leaving Isabella emotionally devastated, because the full truth was far more complicated and heart-wrenching than anyone could ever imagine. The luxurious estate's atmosphere turned icy, whispers echoing harshly through hallways once filled with warmth. Isabella sat alone in a dimly lit guest room, staring blankly at a photograph of Emma. Tears traced the gentle contours of her face, falling softly onto her trembling hands. Julia burst into the room suddenly, elegant composure shattered, her emerald eyes blazing with betrayal. "All these years, Isabella, how could you lie to us, to me?" Isabella's voice cracked painfully as she replied, "Julia, please. It's not what you think. There's so much you don't know." Julia recoiled, eyes narrowing in anger and confusion. "Then tell me the truth, Isabella." Now. Isabella hesitated, haunted by a past she'd spent years escaping. "I can't. Not yet," she whispered helplessly. Julia turned sharply, bitterness clouding her expression. "I trusted you like a sister, and now you've destroyed everything." In his opulent study, Marcus paced anxiously, his usually confident demeanor shaken. The revelation about Emma shattered his reality, igniting suspicion and anger within him. The lawyer stood quietly by, observing Marcus's turmoil with professional detachment. Did Isabella deliberately deceive us? For money? Revenge? Why? Marcus asked, voice strained. The lawyer adjusted his glasses slowly, answering cautiously, DNA doesn't lie, but motives, intentions, those remain unclear. Marcus slammed his fist onto the ornate desk, frustration erupting violently. We opened our hearts to her. She was family, and now I feel utterly betrayed. His breathing labored, eyes filled with torment. Or was I the one who betrayed her first? Long ago, he whispered, lost in thought, revealing an inner conflict buried deeply, unseen by others, suggesting Marcus himself held secrets potentially darker than Isabella's own. Late that night, Isabella quietly slipped into Emma's softly lit bedroom, watching her daughter sleeping peacefully. Her heart ached deeply, torn between maternal love and the heavy burden of secrets she carried. Soft footsteps behind startled her. She turned to see Marcus standing in the doorway, his powerful frame silhouetted against the dim hall lights. "I need answers, Isabella," he demanded, voice firm yet edged with pain. "Emma deserves the truth. We all do." Isabella gently caressed Emma's sleeping face, her tears quietly falling. "Marcus, I never intended this pain," she whispered, anguish in her voice. "But you must understand, I hid the truth to protect her, to protect you." Marcus stepped closer, intensity radiating from his conflicted gaze. "Protect us from what, Isabella?" She drew a deep breath, finally ready to speak the devastating truth she'd kept hidden for years. But before she could, the harsh ring of Marcus's phone shattered their fragile moment, hinting ominously at even darker revelations yet to come. Marcus lifted the phone slowly, his expression growing darker as he listened intently. "What do you mean he's back? He was supposed to stay away," he muttered, urgency dripping from every syllable. Isabella watched him, frozen by anxiety, heart racing as Marcus's eyes met hers with newfound dread. "Isabella," Marcus whispered hoarsely, his voice trembling with fear and anger. "Daniel is back in town." Isabella's breath caught sharply, her face paling instantly at the mention of Daniel's name. A flood of painful memories surged, threatening to break the fragile control she desperately clung to. "He promised never to return," she whispered, shaking visibly. Marcus's features twisted painfully as he approached her, vulnerability cracking through his stern facade. "He's demanding money, threatening to expose the past. Isabella, we have to act now." Their eyes locked intensely, a silent understanding passing between them, charged with dread and unspoken truths. The following morning, tension radiated palpably throughout the Carter estate. Isabella moved silently through the corridors, eyes wary, haunted by memories she had long fought to bury. Julia watched her bitterly from a distance, arms crossed defensively, her normally radiant face shadowed by suspicion and resentment. Emma sensed the rising strain, confusion evident in her innocent eyes. "Mom, why is Isabella so sad?" she whispered timidly, tugging gently at Julia's sleeve. Julia's expression softened briefly, conflicted. "Sometimes people hide truths that hurt others, sweetheart," she answered quietly, glancing pointedly at Isabella. Isabella overheard, heart shattering at Julia's words, desperately wanting to reveal everything but terrified of the consequences. Suddenly, the mansion's doorbell rang sharply, the harsh sound slicing through the oppressive silence. Isabella's heart sank. The dreaded moment had arrived. Marcus opened the grand door to find Daniel standing arrogantly on the threshold, his handsome face twisted into a cynical smirk. Tall and powerfully built, Daniel's dark eyes glittered coldly, a menacing presence impossible to ignore. "Long time, Marcus," he drawled confidently, stepping inside uninvited. Isabella froze, pulse hammering, face drained of color as Daniel's eyes immediately locked onto hers. "Hello, Isabella." "Missed me?" he mocked, taking malicious pleasure in her evident discomfort. Marcus stood protectively between them, voice dangerously low. You aren't welcome here, Daniel. Say what you must and leave. Daniel chuckled coldly, eyes narrowing. You and Isabella tried to erase me, but secrets don't vanish that easily. He glanced deliberately toward Emma, standing quietly by Julia, oblivious to the danger. Isabella's heart pounded with dread. Daniel's presence threatened to shatter the fragile world she'd painstakingly built, and she knew their darkest chapter had only just begun. Daniel strode confidently into the Carter estate's lavish living room, his presence radiating menace and entitlement. So, Marcus, you built a perfect family, wealth, respect, a beautiful wife, he sneered, casting a pointed glance at Julia. Yet you left me in the shadows, discarded like trash. Marcus's jaw tightened, fists clenched, but his voice remained deadly calm. Your own actions destroyed you, Daniel. You chose your path. Daniel laughed bitterly, eyes flashing dangerously. Did Isabella choose hers? Or did you manipulate that too? Isabella trembled visibly, tears pooling in her eyes as past pain resurfaced brutally. Julia stepped forward sharply, confusion and anger evident. What does he mean, Marcus? What did you do? Marcus hesitated, torn between pride and shame, the weight of past decisions haunting him. I did what was necessary to protect our family, he muttered defensively, guilt shadowing his expression, leaving Julia stunned and hurt by his vague yet ominous words. Isabella's voice broke suddenly through the escalating tension, clear yet filled with deep sorrow. Enough, Daniel. Stop tormenting us. I'll tell them everything. Marcus turned sharply, eyes pleading silently, but Isabella stood resolute, courage finally overriding fear. Years ago, Daniel and I were together before he showed his true colors. Cruelty, greed, abuse, she revealed painfully. Julia gasped softly, understanding dawning in her emerald eyes. Isabella continued, voice trembling but firm. I fled, pregnant and terrified, hiding Emma's identity to keep her safe from Daniel's violence. Marcus found out later but protected my secret, our secret, without knowing Daniel would someday return. Daniel sneered, his facade briefly faltering, raw anger surfacing. You think your sob story justifies betrayal? Isabella stood tall, defiant and unwavering. I lied to protect Emma. Not from this family, but from you. Daniel lunged forward aggressively, anger fueling his reckless movements. Marcus intercepted instantly, powerful and protective, physically restraining Daniel with fierce determination. Leave my family alone! Marcus roared, emotion raw in his voice. Julia shielded Emma protectively, horror etched clearly on their faces. Isabella stood paralyzed, watching the chaos she had dreaded unfold, desperate for resolution. Marcus forced Daniel toward the door, voice icy and resolute. I will never allow you to harm anyone again, Daniel. Get out and stay out, or face consequences far worse. Defeated yet defiant, Daniel wrenched himself free, breathing heavily. You can't erase me forever, Marcus. Lies always surface no matter how deep they're buried. With a final venomous glance toward Isabella, Daniel vanished into the night. Isabella, shaken yet fiercely determined, met Marcus's gaze directly. The truth is finally out. Now we rebuild. But can you truly forgive me? Marcus hesitated, torn between lingering hurt and a deep understanding that would soon reshape their future. In the wake of Daniel's dramatic departure, silence filled the Carter estate like a heavy fog. Marcus stood motionless by the door, fists clenched tightly, his breathing shallow and strained. Isabella approached slowly, her voice gentle yet weighted by profound remorse. Marcus, I never meant to involve you or your family in this pain. Marcus turned toward her, his usually confident blue eyes glistening with complex emotions, anger, hurt, and unexpected compassion. You chose to hide Emma's truth, Isabella, but I also hid the past. From Julia, from everyone. We both lied to protect what we loved most. Isabella nodded quietly, acknowledging their shared burden, as Julia appeared hesitantly in the doorway, her elegant features drawn and weary. Marcus, Isabella, we can't continue building our lives on hidden truths, Julia whispered softly, voice filled with quiet resolve. If we're to heal, everything must be laid bare. Days passed quietly yet tensely at the estate, the grandeur of the house starkly contrasting with the emotional turmoil within. Isabella spent hours alone, contemplating how the lies she'd maintained for so long had irreversibly impacted everyone she cared about. Julia's distant demeanor softened gradually, recognizing Isabella's genuine pain and sacrifice. One evening, as twilight painted the gardens in soft amber hues, Julia found Isabella sitting alone beneath an ancient oak tree. "I judged you harshly, Isabella," Julia began softly, eyes sincere yet vulnerable. "But now I see clearly the strength it took to protect Emma from Daniel's darkness." Isabella's eyes welled with tears, deeply moved by Julia's compassion. "Forgiveness isn't easy," Julia continued gently, placing her hand reassuringly on Isabella's trembling shoulder. "But we owe it to Emma to try." Isabella's breath hitched softly, heart swelling with newfound hope. In the days that followed, the family slowly attempted to mend fractured bonds. Marcus arranged counseling for everyone, determined to rebuild trust and understanding within his family. Emma's innocent laughter gradually returned, filling the halls once more with warmth and vitality. Marcus found Isabella sitting quietly by the fireplace one evening, firelight softly illuminating her contemplative face. "Isabella," he began quietly, sincere regret evident in his deep voice. "I allowed fear and pride to cloud my judgment, but you never lied. Your secret was your shield, protecting Emma from harm." Isabella looked up slowly, emotion filling her dark eyes. Marcus continued earnestly. "A wise man once said, 'Truth is powerful and it prevails.' Perhaps now, by embracing the truth openly, we can all finally heal." Isabella's tears spilled gently, deeply touched by Marcus's sincere words. But was this delicate healing strong enough to withstand further storms yet unseen? As winter softly enveloped the Carter estate, an uneasy yet comforting peace settled among the family. Isabella devoted herself completely to Emma, gently nurturing the bond that had become openly acknowledged and treasured. Julia, observing from afar, felt a subtle pang of bittersweet longing. Approaching Marcus quietly one evening, she confessed softly, "I'm struggling to accept that I'm not Emma's biological mother. It's harder than I ever imagined." Marcus gently held Julia's hands, eyes earnest. "Biology doesn't define motherhood, Julia. Your love for Emma is pure, genuine, unconditional. That's what truly matters." Julia smiled softly, reassured yet vulnerable. Unbeknownst to them, Isabella stood quietly nearby, heart heavy with gratitude and lingering sadness. Could their bond of trust and love withstand the invisible strain of complex, intertwined relationships? Days later, the tranquility shattered unexpectedly. Marcus received an alarming call. The police had arrested Daniel on unrelated charges, but disturbing evidence had emerged implicating Marcus in Daniel's past crimes. Marcus paled visibly, panic flashing across his handsome features. Isabella watched him closely, fear gripping her heart once more. "Marcus, what's wrong?" she asked urgently. His voice trembled as he replied, "Daniel is trying to drag me down with him. He claims I was involved in his illegal dealings years ago." Julia overheard, eyes wide in horror, her trust fracturing visibly. "Marcus, is it true?" Marcus hesitated, guilt shadowing his eyes, his silence confirming the devastating truth. Isabella felt the world shifting beneath them again. Had the family's healing been built upon yet another concealed lie? As investigations unfolded, the family retreated inward, attempting to shield Emma from mounting tensions. Isabella grappled deeply with the realization that Marcus, too, had been hiding darker truths than she'd imagined. Late one evening, Isabella found Marcus sitting alone, head bowed in exhaustion. "I made mistakes, Isabella, terrible mistakes trying to protect my family from Daniel," Marcus confessed quietly, shame heavy in his voice. Isabella sighed softly, her empathy mingling with disappointment. "Secrets meant to protect often cause the deepest harm, Marcus," she whispered gently. We both learned that the hardest way. Marcus nodded slowly, visibly shaken, eyes haunted. Will you forgive me, Isabella? He asked, vulnerable. She looked at him, her heart torn. Forgiveness was her gift to offer, but was Marcus ready to face the deeper consequences his past actions would inevitably bring? Marcus's confession hung heavily in the air, casting an uncomfortable silence through the mansion. Isabella reached out gently, her hand softly touching his shoulder, offering comfort despite her own conflicted emotions. Forgiveness doesn't erase consequences, Marcus, she said softly, eyes filled with compassion and sorrow. But we can still choose to face them together. Marcus exhaled deeply, visibly relieved, yet burdened by the reality of his past actions. Julia entered quietly, observing their closeness, her expression initially wary, but gradually softening as she recognized genuine remorse in Marcus's eyes. Secrets nearly destroyed us, Julia whispered quietly, emotion thick in her voice. Perhaps the only path forward is complete honesty, even if painful. Marcus nodded slowly, prepared to face the repercussions, knowing full transparency would determine the survival of their family. With Marcus cooperating fully with the authorities, the scandal surrounding the Carter family quickly dominated headlines. News crews gathered relentlessly outside their gates, amplifying the stress within. Isabella shielded Emma tenderly, doing everything possible to preserve her innocence amidst growing chaos. One chilly morning, Julia found Isabella seated alone in the sunlit conservatory, deep sadness clouding her gentle features. This family was my refuge, Isabella confessed quietly. Now, I fear I've brought more turmoil than peace. Julia sat down beside her, voice firm yet soothing. You brought Emma into our lives. My greatest joy. Yes, we have turmoil, but we also have hope. Isabella looked into Julia's eyes, feeling deep warmth and gratitude. But would hope be enough to withstand the brutal consequences looming over them? Weeks passed, and finally, the investigation reached its climax. Marcus stood in court, dignified but visibly humbled, ready to face his judgment openly. Isabella sat nervously, clutching Julia's hand, their newfound bond strengthened by shared hardship. The judge spoke solemnly. Marcus Carter, your actions deeply impacted many lives. However, your transparency, genuine remorse, and cooperation cannot be overlooked. Relief flooded Marcus's features, eyes moistening with gratitude. Still, the judge continued sternly, consequences must follow your actions. I sentence you to community service and strict restitution. The family exhaled collectively, gratitude mixing with acceptance. Isabella met Marcus's gaze warmly, silently promising unwavering support. As they exited the courtroom, Isabella whispered softly, recalling a powerful biblical quote, "The truth will set you free." Marcus nodded gently, understanding fully that real freedom now meant rebuilding trust through honest actions and undeniable sincerity. With Marcus actively embracing his sentence, the Carter family gradually regained their balance, shifting from scandal toward redemption. Marcus poured himself earnestly into community service, humility reshaping his once proud demeanor. Isabella, witnessing this genuine transformation, felt her respect deepen significantly. Julia supported Marcus fully, her compassion allowing healing to begin, though trust remained fragile. One evening, Emma approached Isabella hesitantly, her innocent blue eyes searching deeply. Isabella, is Daddy going to be okay now? Isabella smiled warmly, gently touching Emma's cheek. Your father is becoming a better person, Emma. That makes everything okay. From afar, Marcus overheard Isabella's comforting words, gratitude filling his heart, realizing Isabella's quiet strength was guiding them all toward true redemption. Months later, as spring blossomed vibrantly around the estate, Marcus and Julia hosted a quiet gathering celebrating renewal and forgiveness. Isabella, wearing a simple yet elegant dress, joined them in the garden, the setting sun casting a golden hue over the scene. Marcus raised his glass, his voice gentle yet profoundly sincere. Today we celebrate more than just our recovery. We honor Isabella, whose strength and truth have given us new purpose. Emotion filled Isabella's eyes, humbled deeply by the family's genuine acceptance. Julia stood gracefully beside Marcus, adding warmly, "Through pain and honesty, we've learned the deepest meaning of family." Guests applauded softly, moved by the sincere display of emotional unity. Yet Isabella quietly wondered, was this newfound harmony truly resilient enough to withstand all tests that might come? Late that evening, Isabella stood alone beneath the softly glowing stars, her heart peaceful yet contemplative. Marcus approached quietly, expression soft yet earnest. "Isabella, you taught me courage and honesty," he began gently. "But I need to know, are you finally at peace?" Isabella exhaled softly, her gaze thoughtful. "Peace comes slowly, Marcus, through truth, forgiveness, and compassion. Tonight, seeing the sincerity in everyone's eyes, I believe we're truly healing." Marcus smiled gently, visibly relieved. "I promise never again to let secrets harm us," he vowed solemnly. Isabella nodded, eyes shimmering softly in agreement. Under the tranquil stars, a powerful understanding passed between them, symbolizing hope and renewal. Yet hidden beneath this newfound harmony, an unspoken uncertainty lingered. Had their trials truly ended, or did unseen challenges still await? Summer arrived warmly, bringing new beginnings and cautious optimism to the Carter estate. Isabella had seamlessly reclaimed her place within the family, not merely as their maid, but as a respected, beloved figure. Marcus, working tirelessly in the community, earned respect for his sincere humility and genuine effort. Yet, a subtle tension lingered between him and Julia, their marriage quietly strained beneath carefully maintained appearances. One afternoon, Isabella noticed Julia sitting quietly in the garden, eyes misted, clearly lost in troubled thought. Approaching softly, Isabella gently asked, "Julia, what weighs so heavily on your heart?" Julia sighed deeply, vulnerability evident. "Marcus has changed, Isabella. But have I? Can I truly forgive and move past betrayal?" Isabella touched her shoulder gently, empathy clear in her warm gaze. "Forgiveness heals both the forgiven and the forgiver. Letting go is strength, not weakness." As days passed, Julia reflected deeply on Isabella's words, confronting her lingering resentment and fears. During a quiet dinner, Marcus noticed Julia's thoughtful silence, sensing her internal struggle. Afterward, he took her hand softly, voice gentle yet earnest. "Julia, we've both made mistakes, endured pain, and hidden truths from each other. Can you forgive the man I was, and embrace the man I'm becoming?" Julia's eyes filled slowly with tears, emotions raw yet hopeful. "Marcus, forgiving isn't forgetting. It's choosing compassion over resentment. I want to choose compassion." Marcus exhaled softly, relief evident in his eyes. Nearby, Isabella overheard quietly, heart swelling gently with hope and pride, witnessing the profound emotional transformation she'd always longed for finally beginning. The family gradually healed, each day bringing genuine warmth and trust back into their lives. Emma blossomed joyfully, surrounded by newfound openness and sincerity. Isabella often found quiet solace beneath the oak tree where she once confronted her darkest moments. Marcus and Julia, hand in hand, approached Isabella one evening, gratitude radiating gently from their expressions. "Isabella," Marcus began warmly, sincerity deeply heartfelt, "your courage changed us all profoundly. You've shown us truth is a gift, not a threat." Julia added softly, eyes glistening gently, "And because of your strength, our family found redemption." Emotion swelled gently within Isabella, powerful yet peaceful, finally feeling deeply valued and truly accepted. Yet within her heart remained a quiet, unspoken question. Would their hard-earned trust withstand future challenges, or was more turbulence yet to unfold? Months later, a gentle autumn wind swept golden leaves across the Carter estate. A sense of serene stability had finally returned, filling every room with renewed laughter and genuine warmth. Isabella, gracefully arranging flowers for a family gathering, felt peace radiating deeply within. Marcus entered the room holding a carefully wrapped box. "Isabella," he began warmly, eyes sincere and grateful. "This family owes you more than words can express. You've given us strength, courage, and a second chance at life." Isabella, deeply touched, opened the box gently, revealing a delicate pendant, a symbol of family unity engraved with Emma's name. Tears welled softly in Isabella's eyes, moved profoundly by Marcus's heartfelt gesture. "You've taught me that family isn't defined only by blood," Marcus added softly. Isabella felt overwhelming joy mixed with a sense of lasting peace. As evening fell, Julia and Marcus stood hand in hand before gathered guests, their voices gently resonating through the warmly decorated room. "Tonight, we celebrate not just renewal, but resilience," Marcus began, his voice confident yet humbled. Julia continued softly, "And we honor Isabella, whose bravery and love guided us through our darkest times." Isabella, standing modestly aside, felt deep gratitude swell powerfully in her heart. Guests applauded warmly, celebrating the family's genuine emotional rebirth. Emma approached Isabella quietly, eyes bright and earnest. "You're always family to me, Isabella," she whispered lovingly. Isabella knelt gently, embracing Emma tightly, heart swelling with the purest joy she had ever known, deeply grateful for this precious moment of acceptance and unconditional love. Under starlit skies, Isabella stood peacefully beneath the ancient oak tree that had witnessed all her sorrows and joys. Marcus and Julia joined her quietly, each deeply reflective, eyes glowing softly with genuine contentment. Marcus spoke gently, his voice resonant and sure. "Life has shown us the deepest truth. Lies destroy, but honesty heals." Julia smiled warmly, adding quietly, "And that forgiveness and compassion are our greatest strengths." Isabella, looking toward the glowing lights of the house, whispered softly, recalling an ancient proverb, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." Marcus and Julia nodded quietly, understanding deeply the profound wisdom of Isabella's words. Together, unified by forgiveness, truth, and love, the family faced the future with hope, forever grateful for the hidden drama that ultimately brought them closer than ever before.